Hi guys, Darth Deuce here, back with another figure review. Today taking a look at something a little bit different. We've got a McFarlane Toys figure from the Mortal Kombat 11 line. We have the Shadow of Spawn figure that was very recently released as part of the Mortal Kombat 11 line from McFarlane Toys. I don't do too many figure reviews from McFarlane Toys or Mortal Kombat 11 line or anything like that, but I have been buying them, and I've been pretty much all in, or pretty close to all in, on the Spawn stuff. I think McFarlane has been putting out extremely good stuff when it comes, especially when it comes to their Spawn figures. And we've gotten a new Spawn, and it is a kind of sort of take on a classic Spawn. In the game, if you never played the Mortal Kombat 11 game, there are different skins you can give each character. Spawn has a few different ones. We've gotten, I think all of them now in the Mortal Kombat 11 line, at least the actual mold, not all the colors, obviously. But one of them is a kind of classic take on Spawn here, which we have here. And while this isn't a true classic Spawn, he is definitely missing, or some things that are a bit different that don't make him a full classic. It is the closest we've gotten as of recently outside of the Kickstarter Spawn. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, just taking a look at the figure, I think this guy's really great, especially for the price. I think McFarlane is putting out some of the best stuff in terms of value for money right now compared to other companies, and I think this Spawn looks really good. One thing that's really cool is this figure is like 95%, 90% new mold. I think the only things that are reuse is the boot, the gauntlet, and the cape. I think everything else is brand new, which is super cool. The suit that you'll see all around, instead of having that almost organic symbiotic look, has this much more smooth design and look to make it look like it's actual fabric costume that he's wearing instead of like a symbiote, which is how the suit kind of looked in the early days of the comics. And I think this looks really nice. It actually gives a very almost animated vibe, like animated series kind of vibe, this figure does, which I think is cool. But yeah, I think it looks really good. The head sculpt especially, I think, is a highlight of this one. I really like the design of the head. Love the vibrant green eyes with the black around the eyes, and the white designs there look really, really good. I'm really pleased with this head sculpt. I think it might be one of my favorites of the new Spawn figures. Looks really nice. Colors themselves look pretty good. They are kind of darker, I guess, which I guess is just going to be personal preference whether you prefer that or not. But the cape is reuse. It looks fine. It doesn't have any sort of wash on it, which is a little unfortunate. But at least with the darker colors, it looks pretty good. For some reason, not quite as flexible as some of the other versions of Spawn that's come from Mortal Kombat 11 line, but it still will move. All the white markings that you see here are actually sculpted. They're raised from the rest of the sculpt, so they're not just painted details. They are sculpted details, which is really cool. You've got the white lines, the spikies here, and the other details, the red, and then obviously the red on the torso with the white here is the big kind of classicness to it, which I think looks really nice. I think maybe the first Spawn figure from the new Spawn figure we've gotten in the past few years that actually has a closed fist hand, which I think is pretty cool. So we can do some punching. That's nice. And over here you've got the gauntlet that we've seen on multiple versions of Spawn from this line at this point, and this has a grip hand. And you got the chains here with the more classic looking skull, which looks really nice. Even this pouch strap here is actually different from the original Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn figure that they released. Same boot, and then pretty plain legs, but that's kind of how it's supposed to be. And I like the proportions and everything about that. I think looks really good on this figure as well. So I think it looks really nice. Whether this kind of does it for you in terms of how a Spawn figure looks is kind of up to personal preference. I don't mind that he has the large gauntlet and boot. I actually like that design a lot. And then putting the classicness kind of over, I think it looks really good. But if you wanted a true classic Spawn, he might not hit that mark for you. In terms of articulation, he's got all the articulation you expect, pretty much exactly the same as the first Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. You do have that dumbbell joint neck. He looks up a lot, looks down just a bit, pivots decently, rotates, hinges in the shoulders, move quite well. They do have those caps in there and those shifting joints. They do have a bit of butterfly motion. Swivel at the bicep, double hinge at the elbow, which moves in quite a bit, especially considering the big gauntlet. I think that's really nice. I believe this one will go further though. Yeah, this one goes a lot further because it doesn't have the gauntlet there. And then you have the McFarlane style wrist joints that go up and down or in and out depending how you rotate the wrists, and they do swivel. Torso joint, which works really nicely. There's actually two. There's one at the waist and one at the top of the torso. Goes forward an okay amount, back a fair amount, pivots quite a bit, and rotates. So there's pretty decent movement there. Hip articulation, kicks it about that far, back just a little bit. You can spread them out almost all the way. This one clicks a fair amount for some reason. A bit of rotation, nothing too much going on there. Double hinges at the knees, which move quite a bit. And then hinges at the ankles, go up a fair amount, down a fair amount with ankle pivot, and then a toe bend as well. So a lot of really great articulation on this. You can definitely get this one in a lot of great poses for sure. In terms of accessories, I will say this is probably this figure's weakest point. You do get your display base, just standard McFarlane display base, Mortal Kombat on there because it's part of the Mortal Kombat line. And then you get these two chain pieces, which are pretty simple. They're not painted. They're just molded in this silver sort of color. I do kind of wish they were painted. The color that they're in and with no paint, they look a little plasticky, and I hate using this term, but a little toy-like, because this is a toy, but yeah, they don't look quite right, I guess, but they're still not too bad. But basically what you can do with these, pretty much the only thing you can do with these is the figure has two holes in the back, in his back. You can take the chains here. They have two plugs. You plug them in, kind of wrap the chains around them however you want. That doesn't really make a sense. Do that. And then same thing here, just plug it in and do that. And then you have the chains on them, and I appreciate the attempt. I would definitely like to see more kind of accessory effect parts where it looks like he has his chains and he's using the chains, because with real metal chains, you can only really have them kind of dangling on them. You can't really do a whole lot with them. It would have been cool if they did some chain effects, maybe wrap around his arm, makes it look like he's shooting them out or something. Here, you just kind of got these chains just kind of attach onto them, and that kind of just makes it look like, I guess, they're kind of wrapping around him, kind of moving around, I guess. It's okay. It's not that good. Honestly, it looks all right. It's not crazy, but I like the attempt at any rate. Maybe they'll do some better stuff later on in the Spawn line or something. But that's pretty much all I got to say with the actual figure, but I want to do a fair amount of comparisons. There's been a lot of Spawn figures over the past couple of years, as well as some older Spawn figures we can take a look at. I guess first and foremost, taking a look at the first Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. You can kind of see the differences here. The one on the left, the first one, has got all that realistic. It's got that symbiotic sort of organic look. It's got darker colors. This one does have a paint wash, which I think looks really nice. And you can tell, like, the chains here, how they got that nice black wash. I think it looks a lot better. And I wish they would have done that for this one. Because this one is kind of that cloth and that kind of almost animated vibe, I don't mind not having the weathering so much, but it would have been nice on the chains. But yeah, these guys look pretty cool. I like having these two together. That looks good. There have been some other Mortal Kombat 11. Here's the Malefic Spawn. So you see how they look together. This one actually has really bright colors as opposed to... I almost kind of would like to see what this guy would look like with these bright colors. So I feel like this one, the color's a bit too bright, but they might look kind of good on this one. I don't know. But that's them. And with the a more recent, from this year, we have the Commando Spawn. So you can kind of see how they look together. All these different looks, I think it's pretty cool. And then for an actual other classic Spawn, I do have the classic Spawn Kickstarter. It's a little hard to actually do a comparison because the Kickstarter Spawn's this massive cape. But you kind of see what I'm saying, how this one's not quite a full true classic. This one doesn't have the big gauntlets or whatever. It's got just the little bands. He's got the brighter colors. He's got the better looking chains. This one was more expensive. But yeah, you kind of see how that goes, how they look together. Or how they compare, rather. Another classic Spawn, I have the 10th anniversary super articulated Spawn. You see how they look together. Yeah, this figure is still absolutely incredible even to this day. It has some things I don't like about it, but I think the paint's definitely way better on this one. They both do things well. I do actually like the posability and the the proportions of this one a lot more. It looks a lot better. This one's a little thin, a little lanky in a certain way, but they both have their purpose. This one is a lot more accurate to classic Spawn. He's got the cool metal chains, he's got the awesome cape, and then the display base and everything like that. But you see how they kind of compare. Lastly, in terms of actual different versions of Spawn, another version of Spawn that was released this year, we have the Throne Deluxe Spawn, which is a modern comic book version of Spawn. And yeah, you can definitely see. I thought maybe they would reuse this Spawn, or at least reuse his head sculpt for this Spawn, but they actually did a completely new sculpt, which I think is pretty cool. But you can see kind of how they're similar, at least in terms of colors. So that is that. I think they look pretty good together as well. I would take him off the throne, but I have an pose that I like, and I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, another really good figure, another really good priced figure, honestly. That was a really good deal. And then for fun, here he is with a Mega Fig from the Spawn line. If you want to see how he looks with other comic book characters, here he is with Overt Kill. You can even see all of them. And I think they look really good together. So overall, I think this is a really good figure, especially for the price. You know, in the States, like what, $20, and up here in Canada, you're looking at around 30. It's a really good price for the size of the figure, the articulation, the sculpt and paint detail, and the accessory that you do get. I think it's a really good deal. I think this is a really nice Spawn figure as well. It's not true classic Spawn, so people who've been hoping that McFarlane will make a classic Spawn, if you can't get past him having the gauntlet and the big boot, this might not be the one that quite does it for you yet. But I think it's still a pretty good attempt on a classic Spawn. I think it's at least, like for $20, I'd say it's a good placeholder until they eventually hopefully do an actual classic Spawn figure. I think it's really nice. The accessories could have been better, but yeah, what can you do? They're still okay, and I've got extra accessories I can give this figure anyways. So yeah, I think a good addition to the collection, a good addition to the Spawn collection, especially if you don't have a Spawn yet. It's not a bad one to pick up. Anyways, that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know which is your favorite Spawn that McFarlane has released so far from the latest figures. I'd like to know what everyone's kind of favorite is, because there's actually quite a few options now. So everyone probably has a different favorite. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys all in the next one. Again, thanks for watching.